I want to welcome you to our Zoom meeting this evening. I want to thank Michelle Nathan, who's in charge of events and volunteerism at Telfed, together with her volunteers who've assisted in making sure that we could put this together and that you could join us all this evening. And together with Ronnie, we're going to be focusing on characterizing this current traumatic and stressful situation that we're in because of the war in Gaza. Ronnie's going to be suggesting tools for stabilization, relaxation, for all of us really who are affected by the stress. And the focus tonight is specifically providing support for family members who currently have soldiers who are participating in the war. And that really was our reason and the impetus for this evening's gathering. So thank you to everybody for joining us. I also want to welcome our chairman, Mesh Isaacson, who's also with us, and a number of Telfed lay leaders and volunteers who are with us this evening. A few words about Ronnie. So Dr. Rony Berger is a senior clinical psychologist, and he is internationally recognized as an expert in dealing with psychological preparation for and in the aftermath of war and terror, and in treating trauma-affected children and adults. Ronnie is a senior lecturer at the Department of Emergency and Disaster Management at Tel Aviv University, and he's also the educational director at the Center for Compassionate Mindful Education. Dr. Berger is one of the founders of the International Organization of Psychology Beyond Borders, which provides support for victims of war, terrorism, and natural disasters. So we're very fortunate to have somebody of Ronnie's caliber with us this evening. And I'm sure we will learn a lot from Ronnie and be able to implement his suggestions to help us all cope with the difficult situation we find ourselves in, with the trauma and the stress. And by us being strong, we will also be able to strengthen our soldiers on the front line, because they'll see us being strong for them. I'm going to be, after Ronnie's presentation, I will be taking the questions from the chat. So as Ronnie progresses, so please feel free, if you have any questions, just write them in the chat. And at the end of Ronnie's presentation, I'll go through those questions. I'll be relaying them to Ronnie, and he will answer them at the end of his presentation. So as we go along, whatever questions you have, please feel free to write them in the chat. As you can see, this event is being recorded, and therefore all of those that have signed up for this evening's event, Michelle will send a recording, so you'll be able to watch it again. If you miss something, don't worry. You can pick it up again in the recording second time round. And I'm sure there'll be so much to learn that you'll want to watch that recording again. So thank you, Ronnie, for being here with us, for sharing of your wisdom and your experience. And I hand over to you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you and everybody else that's come aboard. I'll put together my PowerPoint so you could really observe it. Just a second. Here you go. I'll call this talk the island of sanity in a stormy and turbulent sea. If you happen not to have a question that could be raised in public, here is my email. Give you my non-university email. It's Bergeroni. There are two R there in the middle. gmail.com, and even my phone for those who are Israelis. Now, I didn't want to create a diplomatic thing, so I brought together the two flags of South Africa and Australia. Here we go together. So I'm welcoming all the ones abroad. And I'm going to try to describe the situation on the ground and then give you some tools. Talk about, what families of soldiers are dealing with. I've been fortunate to work with about 350 families whose sons were in the first elite unit that came to on Saturday So I know a lot about what has been going on there. I've also was one of the first one who went down south talking about the sort of survivors of the atrocities in Be'eri and Kfar Aza. Those are the most affected, settlements, kibbutz down in the south. Have heard all the story, which I'll spare you, of course. So I'm going to talk about some of that, and particularly about how to sort of cope with an ongoing stressful situation, which we're still facing due to the fact that this is an ongoing situation. We haven't resolved it yet, neither in the south, or certainly not in the north. Hopefully, they will not get involved. I'm going to skip all my stuff about myself. I can say one thing about myself, that I've been in all the major disasters in the world in the 30 years. Um, Even in Australia once, in New Zealand, not in South Africa, missed that part, but everywhere, the United States, Oklahoma City, 9/11, et cetera, et cetera. So I've had few, situation that I can talk about that really taught me a lot. I want to talk about the nature of this continuing traumatic, stressful situation which we are all facing, and try to explain to you why is it so difficult for us to go first. The nature and intensity of the events. There's not a lot of people were killed and injured, and there were horrific stories, some of which I quoted from people in the South that told me they slaughtered all family, parents protecting their children at the expense of their bodies, in fact. There was a massacre, they tell. Those stories actually reminded me of my parents' Holocaust story that I've heard. I'm a second generation. And they were horrific. When I went down there, it really was like Ukraine. I work in Ukraine and in Poland, the displaced and refugees of Ukraine. Very similar, unfortunately, the first day. But this is not the worst thing. The worst thing, I think, is what I call the breaking of the sense of safety and protection. You see, the thing is that the people there had to wait about 7 hours before a soldier came aboard. So they felt neglected, said we were neglected, everything falling apart. And just imagine somebody enter your home for a long time and sort of killing people indiscriminately. Horrible, horrible situation. And then there is the uncertainty of what will happen. That also another factor of stress here, because we don't know. A lot of people tell me, are there still terrorists around? I just got a text message here, and I'm in Tel Aviv, saying we need to protect our neighborhood. I think people exaggerate. And the reason they exaggerate, I'm not saying that everything is cool here and safe, but the sense that this is broken the sense of safety of people, people go as far as they see somebody with a look of an Arabic, they sort of stop them and they think that they are terrorists. This is the sense that we are in Israel feeling right now. It's really entering a lot of people. And the final thing that has been a really difficult situation is the chaotic scenes of government agency. That many people, particularly in the South, felt that the government wasn't functioning. There was nobody that we can trust. The country's privatized. I, from an NGO, need to deal with people who are lost their families in Be'eri. It's a non-governmental thing. So the thing is that there is that sense of something is breaking down generally. And a lot of people talk to me, and really I speak a lot to people, and they feel like things are falling apart. Again, it's not exactly the same, but if you live in this atmosphere, the sense of apocalyptic reality and the great sense of anxiety, stress, and helpfulness is prevalent in many, many people. Now, this is a situation we are at. And I want to say a few words about what we do. But before I do it, let me talk about the inner experience, the phenomenology of people who are under stress, so that we can get a sense of what all of us may experience. And trust me, I'll leave you enough time for questions after I say a few words. Okay. The severance of the illusion of safety, I call it psychologically. What it means is that all of us think that what happened yesterday will happen tomorrow or the next day. When we experience a traumatic event, even if it's a civilian way, God forbid somebody dies around us or a neighbor, all of a sudden we start to wonder what's going to happen. Can it happen to me? And so I think that this is really happening to people. The sense of safety evaporated. And there is a mixed feeling coming of that, a chaos, shock, confusion, horror. All of this you can say yourself. But the thing that most people do not know, because they're psychological, when that happens, there are changes in their way of thinking. We call it in psychology inner schemata. In other words, life looked different. And I'll tell you in what areas. The first one is the world. A lot of people all of a sudden feel that the world is unpredictable. I get a calls from people and say to me, is that the end of Israel? No, it's not. But the sense is that that is like that for some people. People seem to be distrustful to people, unsafe. As I told you, people who look with a feature of Arabic people being suspicious as being, terrorists, and they're not. That's another thing that people try to blame themselves. I talk to people down in the south, and unfortunately, when trauma happened, a lot of people feel, a sense that they're a survivor guilt. Why us? And they start to look at what they did, and they blame themselves for not saving people. This is really a damaging experience for some people. So I want to really note that because it's valuable to think about it and then to rehabilitate people if they feel this way. And then the future. The future seemed non-existent or vague or grim. And all of those elements really are, we see it in people, and I hear it when I talk to families of soldiers, when I talk to the people who survive in the South, when I talk to the public. And I've had several speeches and talking individually to people. And this is really a serious thing that we need to take care of. Okay. Having said all of that, let's talk about what we can do, how we can deal with the situation. Before I say the specific strategies of technique, I think that we need to get people to have some proportion of what happened. Yeah, we got caught with our pants down. They attacked us. It was terrible. A lot of people died. But the army is now in control. There are more people who are volunteer and doing things. The country is not lost. And people need to know that because they don't always feel that way. They need to know that the control is slowly coming down. There are still dangers, there are still threats, but we are not going to be abolished from the air, as some people suggest. Okay? The first thing, technique-wise, is vagal breathing. Now, I want to teach you, if that's okay, some kind of way to, deal with that. Vagal breathing is a belly breathing where you inhale and you take the air through your nose, below your diaphragm, and then you very slowly exhale. You might think that this is not a significant thing, but I want to tell you physiologically why it's very helpful, believe it or not. It's helpful even without a stress on that caliber. Even on a daily basis, it's helpful. I want to show you, it's called vagal breathing because of the vagus. Vagus is a nerve. Here's a nerve. I hope you hate, because this is on the back of the head. You see the yellow one is the surgical instrument, and in the center there is the vagus. And the vagus is a nerve that goes from the brainstem, as you can see, has its connection, innovation to all the organs in the body. Why do I spend time to tell you biology? For a very simple reason that I think you should know before you do the exercise. Well, this little nerve really operates the thusing system in the body, the parasympathetic system in the body. It really calms the body when it's activated. So the question is how to activate it. And the way to activate it is to have deep breathing below your diaphragm. Best thing is to take the air through the nose, pull it beyond the diaphragm, which is below the chest. Belly is inflated a little bit. Don't worry about it. It's elastic. It will come back. And then you really slowly exhale. And the exhalation is very important. So I'm not going to practice that with you, but it's really, really an important thing. All my students are doing it before class, during class, etc. Can have about 2-3 minutes of that kind of breath. It will calm down your body. It won't really get your head to feel comfortable, but it will calm your body, and that's very important. Okay? Okay. And I'll skip that because I explained it. Second, muscular relaxation. The body is very tense when we are sort of in survival mode, which we are right now. And so the muscles, even if we don't notice it, are very tense. The way to flex them is to tense them first for about 3 a second, and then to very slowly, group by group muscle, flex them. The flexing should be longer. That is a very simple technique to get calm, and you can practice it on your own. Third thing I'll say and suggest is a safe place. This one I want to practice with you. If that's okay with you, I'll do it with you. If you want to cooperate with me, it will take about, I'd say, 7 minutes, but it'll be really calming. So let's do it together. Is that okay if you do it together? You don't answer, but I would assume you do want to do it. So let's do it together. All I want you to do, guys. Okay. I hear one person, Rony, is saying yes. All right. The man is want to be calm. That's fine. Okay, guys, really take 5 minutes. It's not even a meditation. It's a guided imagery. What I want you is to sit comfortably. Make sure your feet are stamped into the floor very closely. Get your sitting dignified set. And then really, if you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes for a moment. You can try to relax your shoulder and your jaws. Put your hands on your thighs. And let's first take a few deep breaths. First, notice your natural breath. Don't change anything. Just sense your breathing, the way the air goes through the nostrils, go down below your diaphragm into the belly. And now very gently, try to deepen the breath. You inhale through the nose. Bring the air below your diaphragm into the belly, which is inflated a bit. Hold it a second, and then very gently exhale all the air through your mouth. Very long and gentle exhalation. Good. Let's take another one. Inhale. Hold the air in your belly. Hold it. And now very slowly exhale through your mouth. Get all the tension and aches through your body by breathing out the air. Great. Now let's take the last one. Deep, deep breath all the way to the bottom of your pelvis. Hold the air, hold it, and very gently breathe out. Exhale all the air, empty your lungs. Terrific. And now I invite each one of you to bring to mind a place which for you is a safe place, a relaxing place. It could be a place where you've been in the past before, whether it's a landscape, mountains, sea, whether it's a home, it doesn't matter. Maybe few images pops to your head, pick up one and just observe it. Look at the sights, look at the colors of the place. Just imagine that you are here in that safe place right now. And you can also feel the sensation on your body as if you're there. If it's a warm place, the way the sun's warm your body. If it's a cool place, the wind on your face. Just be there for a moment. You can also hear the sounds and the sounds of the place. Maybe the birds singing. Maybe people are talking. Maybe the wind are blowing. It doesn't matter. Your own place. Just hear the sound of the place. Great. You can also smell the odors of the place, whatever they are, the ground, the earth, flowers, cooking, wherever you're at in your safe place. Just smell the smells of the place. And if you're a place that is familiar, you can even get to mind the taste of the place, meaning if you ate something there and you have an after effect of different taste there, Just be there for a moment. Just enjoy the calm place. And if you want, you could bring to that place somebody that is dear to you, somebody you trust, and allow yourself to be there a moment. And now what I suggest to you, just take a picture of the place as if you create a postcard, just the place or a picture that symbolizes the place. And when you do take that picture, just etch it into your mind. Remember it. Whenever you go, I'm gonna bring it up to mind. That feeling that you feel now will be there with you. Good. Now let's take a deep, deep last breath through all our body. Great. And when you hear the sound of the bell that I'm ringing now, when it will pass away, then you can open your eyes and be in there and now back in our meetings. All right, guys. A little exercise, why not? The count place. By the way, believe it or not, a lot of people, I know you're smiling and all, but a lot of people have difficulties sleeping. And this is the only thing that calms them down when they see the picture of the nice place before they sleep. And I'm talking to really a lot of people that were in the party in the south, a lot of people that were in the kibbutzim and the moshavim, there. They really have difficulty sleeping, and that will be a one way to calm them down. All right, mindfulness. If you know how to do mindfulness, you can do it. Will calm you down. And the last thing that I recommend to all of you, actually, those of you who sit at home and do nothing, is being active. Listen, the worst thing that we can do is sit and look at the TV and look at all the horrific stories. Some of them are heroic stories, but beyond the heroic stories, they're always, a very, very traumatic story. So I'm suggesting that you do things that are active. One way is, you can help your neighbors, you can help your friend, you can send your loved ones and your soldiers, things that they love. But you can also be active physically. Just don't sit stale and not do nothing, because we know that really compound with the mental tension will give you a sense of further tension if you do that. So this is my suggestion. Very few. I'll skip that because I don't think we have much time to talk about that. And what I want to share with you is some of the questions that were brought by families of soldiers. As I told you, the soldier that I've seen were the first one. There were Matkal. I don't know if Matkal, it's like, what would be Matkal, Doron? How do you say it? Marines or SEALs or,
an elite force.
An elite force. And, the parachuters and they were the first one that they risked their life, but also seen all the horrific sites online. And so the families contact me, and I now see 4 or 5 groups like that and follow them, try to make sure that they are okay themselves and also support their soldiers. So what I want now is to bring you some of the things that they brought, and then I leave you either to ask the same question or others, whatever. One of the first questions they asked me, how do we support our kid? I want to answer that. I want to see if it echoes with any of you. And what I then will do is ask you to bring to Doron through the chat those questions, and we'll talk about them. The things that they ask me further is, how do we explore the feeling that they experience? They know that they've seen all the sites, and they know that they have been at risk. Do we talk about the atrocity? Do we ask them? Do we ask them what they have seen? How do we do that? Third, what do we communicate about what's happening to us at home? Do we tell them what we are going through? Are we saying that we are anxious? What are we saying? Do we share our worries with them? Okay. And what signs of post-traumatic symptoms do we need to be aware when they come back home? Now, this would be one of my major things, because I'm an expert in treating soldier after war. not only soldier, be also victim of terror, etc. So this is an important thing that I'll talk about. I mean, you can ask me a question about it. Those are the things that, and the last one is, what intervention should we have when they are back home? What do we do with them? What do we recommend them? How do we recommend them? So I leave that, question that I heard from others. And what I suggest, man, I can talk about each one of them, but I also would very much like you, before we answer that question, I'm going to take myself out of the PowerPoint to have you share some of your own feeling, because I think it's really very important to tell us what you're feeling if you have soldiers in the front. And I will also relate to this question, worry not. It will come and I'll answer and give you some tips around what to do. That okay, guys? Okay. So I'm taking myself out of here. Here I am. And I really would like to hear from you a little bit about what are you experiencing, having been in Israel, some of you that are in Israel, or having been abroad, and what you experience as we are going through this really difficult stage. Does anybody feel free to share a little bit or ask or whatever?
I have some
And you can
comments.
open your mic and talk.
I have some comments from the chat.
Okay.
And I want to say also that if people want to, they can write anonymously if you don't want to put your name to it. But I'm going to start reading some of the questions that we've received.
Okay.
Also, if you want to, you can write a direct message to me, and then not everybody will see it, but I'll still ask your question.
Laurent, may I ask you a question? Sorry that I'm interrupting.
Yeah, sure.
For me, it's really important if there are some people who want to just share the feeling. Few minutes, I'll answer all the questions. I won't leave you without an unanswered question. But I want to hear from you if they're comfortable. If they're not, that's okay. What is their experience? Whether they have soldiers in the front or, what's their general feeling are? Because that would be helpful for me to sort of grasp where you're at. Is that okay, guys? Can you share a little bit? And if you can, please open your mic and talk.
Yeah, I don't know. Is the video? I don't know if I'm still on mute or if you can hear
me. You're not mute. I think we can hear you.
Okay, thanks. Hi. I'm a mother of a pilot. My daughter is a pilot of the Azul. She, from Saturday, was already involved in evacuating the wounded and
she's at home?
No, she's not at home. She's been there since everything started. She's in the Air Force Base, and she's fully operational. And will be for a long time still. And if they do go into Gaza, it'll be operational even ahead of the front line, because they would go in on special operations
Later on, you're very worried, aren't you?
I am paralyzed by fear.
Can you stop a moment? That's okay. Can you take a deep breath and just stay with that? You don't have to talk. And we understand that it's very difficult for you.
It's causing extreme friction at home because I'm not coping.
Yeah. I think that many people experience those feelings when you have it. Go ahead.
Could I just say that we were actually in America, ending a term of work, and we had to pack up very quickly. We packed up very quickly everything and came back. So the first week we were also not in Israel. And that also
must be difficult when your daughter was there, yeah.
Yeah, so that just added to the difficulty of not being here. And I need to get out of a cycle of really negative thinking and imagining the worst possible scenarios.
Okay. Sure, certainly, I understand that, and I really appreciate you sharing that. And I know it's a very, very difficult time for you. I'll relate to some of the things that you say, and I wonder, is that okay?
One other very important point is that I sort of then chastise myself because I think of all the people who have lost family or are extremely traumatized already, and I just feel that my issues are just so not important or small compared to. I feel guilty about.
Hmm. Well, that's also natural. I think that a lot of us feel that we're sitting home and that people lost all their families. But just a second. But I think it's very important what you're saying because you represent some voices that are not perhaps heard here. And I think that, you have all the right to be very concerned about your daughter. Yet at the same time, I understand how you feel about that.
And
Anybody else want to go ahead?
sorry, the last issue is also the collective responsibility, because in her position, she also transports troops. That's everybody else's sons. It could be 50 or more of other families' sons or daughters. And the responsibility is just enormous. I feel, I taught all my sons as an English teacher my entire life, and now this is just all my sons on steroids.
I understand that, Gabriela. And by the way, you don't see it, but I've seen several people who sort of echo your feeling very distressed. Is that okay that we stop you and hear other people? How are you doing?
Yeah, sure. I think I covered everything, sort of, in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing it.
Yes,
Anybody else?
What?
Say
Did you say, did you call me?
I'm not sure if two people are looking at the same time.
Just a second. Let's now talk together.
Okay.
We'll speak and Annalisa. Is that okay, guys? All right. Thank you. Go.
Okay.
Jean, we cannot hear you, so perhaps you can speak.
Sure. So I am the mother of a young woman my daughter, who made Aliyah last year. She's 21. She was supposed to get married yesterday, and her fiance was called up to the not the front lines, but he's somewhere up north. So I'm struggling with my personal layer of pain. The disappointment of the wedding didn't happen. We postponed it. And that was a very difficult decision. And then, in the scheme of the larger national tragedy and pain that we're all feeling, and sort of struggling with the personal and the larger. And I think, pointed to the guilt of like, why am I focusing on this personal tragedy of her wedding being postponed and them being separated and not being together in the way that we wanted to celebrate, and worrying about what the future will look like in terms of that celebration eventually, because we hope to celebrate and that he comes back safely. So I'm trying very hard. I do all the strategies that you described, Rony, and I appreciate them. And it's like, you have to just keep doing them. And I know that it's painful to, all the things that you mentioned are things that I see happening, and trying really hard not to go into that negative spiral of all the worries and all the worst, fears that we're all having. But anyway, that's my story.
Thank you for sharing. I had few friends that lost their weddings as well. That it's really a hassle. Of course, it's not the caliber of others, but still, I can understand that it's difficult.
Yes, my name is, and I've moved in with my daughter, whose husband is in the fighting unit, was called up, and I'm helping her with her two twins, which are 4 months old, and her little boy of 4.5, who we are very close. We're sleeping in the same room in the miklat, and he won't go out of the miklat. He cries when he runs to go to the toilet. He's so scared of the sirens, and he's missing his daddy so much. And I don't know, we're trying not to push him too much. We don't get him to go downstairs or out of the building or anything. He's stuck in his room. He's 4.5. He's very bright and very clever. We work with him on toys, and he's very good at math and everything, but he will not leave the miklat. What do you think how we should handle it?
Okay. First of all, I think he needs the sense of protection that he needs. It's obviously, not only his dad is not around, who he was, I assume, very close to, but also the general sense. It's really interesting because kids, even if they don't see the news, they hear the news, they're very sensitive to adults, and they can pick up the tension around them. And I'm sure that's part of the thing as well. I think
he knows about the Hamas. He knows that his daddy's tried to fight off the bad ones.
No, I understand that, and I assume that he knows it on some level, his developmental level. Nonetheless, I think that what you need, first of all, it's not the end of the world that he'll stay there for a little while until he feels more comfortable. But I think you gradually need to tell him, yes, we are fighting the bad people. However, we are now, a strong army, and while it is a little scary, we will be able to control the situation. Your daddy will come, and I think what he can do, and what I would recommend him to do, is to write letter, make paintings to his daddy, not write letters, as writing, in his own on his own level, and maybe sort of gradually take him to see other people slowly out of the miklat, or the shelter. The thing that might help him is other kids that he can play with, or take him out a little bit.
Well, he did have a friend come, and we managed to get him into the lounge for a little bit, and he started playing, and all of a sudden he thought, wow, I have to go. He keeps on asking, Safta or Ima, will there be the alarm in the morning? Am I safer now than in the evening? So we tell him the truth that we don't know, but usually it doesn't happen in the morning.
I understand that will take time, and I think if you can explain to him there is enough time to go to the shelter, whether it's a mamad or a shelter otherwise.
Yeah, that's what we've done. We've demonstrated that it takes enough time from the time where we are in the house to get to the center. Okay, we'll carry on as we've been doing. Thank you.
Terrific. And also work with the the thing that I gave you. Teach him to breathe in his own way, to relax his body, etc. Let's hear some other people if they want to. Yes, please. I don't always see all of you. I see a script with certain people, but I see you. So please feel free.
Thank you. I'm assuming most of the people sitting in this meeting tonight are Olim, and my difficulty is that I work in a very Israeli school system where I am class teacher of a group of matric children, and my responsibility as laid out by my job is to those children. If there's a siren, you get in touch with the children. If they're not at school, you phone the children. The parents phone you. But when is it a responsibility of where I can take the time to switch off from everything and worry about my own child. Yes, in some respects, it's a very interesting distraction because when I'm busy with them, I'm not worrying about my child. But when my phone rings or it beeps in my pocket and I go white and the children see it, it's more or less a situation where the school expects you not to have that. I think Israelis handle the situation a lot differently from us because they've been in the army and they know how to handle, and we don't. And I'm finding balancing my work life with worrying about my child a very difficult balance.
It is difficult. It is difficult. I will relate in a second to all the bullets that I point, worry not. I'll talk to you about it with psychology. And the funny thing is that they told me, Michelle, that I need an hour. I know the situation. I've been with many, many families. I need about 4 hours to answer all your questions. Not that I have that, but I'll try my best anyway. Okay. So listen, you need to
Rony,
gauge between. Yes.
Rony, I just wanted to also to bring a few questions from the chat that we should be aware of them, and maybe you'd also want to relate to them. And that is one. And sorry if I interrupted you. That
no, it's okay.
I'm experiencing a sense of unease, dread, and uncertainty relating to the presumed soon-to-occur ground invasion. So it's also anxiety about safety of our children going into Gaza, and the psychology of comforting a child or a parent by telling them that their beloved will soon be home, even though we can't really guarantee that. But do we make statements like that? Questions also by grandparents. What do we say to our children without adding stress to them? I mean, as a grandparent, we know that our children are looking after their kids. What do we do that doesn't add anxiety? Because we ourselves as grandparents are so worried. How do we help our children without adding any anxiety because they have anxiety from their own children? Also siblings. Yeah, most people here, we're talking here about parents, but there are also people that have siblings. How do we support the siblings of the soldiers, and what type of support do we give to those who have brothers and sisters that are in the army?
Okay, can I start?
Yes, and also there was another question from Mrs. I know that she indicated she also wanted to ask a question, so if you want to, you may. And last one here is to suggest how we deal with stress around anticipating something happening. Also stress that comes when we hear another siren, a boom. We hear things and we immediately, even if it's not directly connected to us, immediately our body experiences stress, even if we know that it's not directly connected to us. Also, what do we do if our soldier child becomes withdrawn, becomes distant? First of all, they have very little contact with us via their phone when they're on the front lines. And even when we do have contact with them, then they're very distant and withdrawn. Should we encourage them to open up, or do we just understand that they want to be withdrawn at this time and they're dealing with things themselves and they don't necessarily want to share? How do we deal with it?
Can I ask you something? Let's stop, because I won't be able to consume all of this thing. I'll try the best I can. Look, let me start by saying that, and that I say to a lot of people all over Israel. Yes, there is concern that we will go to Gaza, and there is concern from the north. The fact that we are not going to Gaza, and I'm really, really connected to the army, is the fact that they're planning an operation that will have minimal casualties, and there'll be less a direct fighting and dealing with the underground city that the Hamas terrorists have been constructing. I don't know the answer as to how they're going to deal with that, but I think the time that they're waiting is precisely that, to find a way by which the soldier go in with minimized casualty. I don't know there will be no casualty. It's unrealistic, but I mean, I think that definitely that's part of the plan. In terms of the north, and then I'll summarize that, and I'll talk about what we do and how we talk to your soldier. In terms of the north, yes, they are teasing us on trying to suggest the Hezbollah that we are trying to do things. But the assessment is that, and we don't know for sure, that they will not go full term to a war with us, simply because the operations that the army did, they know it because they can observe it and they have fair intelligence in Lebanon, is so extreme that even if they start a war, the assumption is that it will take few days, because this is not Gaza. It's not going to be the same way. There's a lot of power to the Air Force that will sort of level a lot of the things. And the operation there is that they will go fast into, yes, they have a lot of rockets and they have, direct rockets. However, it will probably take few days. If they do anything, will be staying in shelters for a while, not running one time or the other because there is a siren. But it will take a few days. And I've been in this kind of war in the second war in Lebanon, which people stayed in the shelters for a few days, but it was over. I cannot guarantee that this is a scenario, but I can tell you that the army is really, really very prepared for that. There's a lot of people, and that's why they evacuated some of the places in the north. So my point to summarize that, yes, there's a danger, and no, the chance that we will be caught or the chance that it will be forever is not really realistic. So while I'm saying there is danger, I'm also suggesting that it won't take forever, and we will eventually deal with that effectively. Yes, if you ask me if there may be casualties, I hope not. But obviously, when you go to war, you don't know exactly what will happen. But again, they're trying to do the best they can not to get the people there, because we could have gone there, for example, to Gaza a week ago. The fact that they're not doing it is they constructing an operation that would be, well, I don't want to say clean because it's a horrible word, but relatively free of casualties. I know that for a fact. So even though it may take few weeks, and they're talking a lot of weeks, I don't think they mean by a lot of weeks that we will be under, in the shelters and running because of bomb. I think what they mean is they will take time to Gaza to find someone to control Gaza. Because obviously, if they destroy the infrastructure of the Hamas, somebody has to be there. And it takes time to construct all of that. And I think that's what they mean. So my feeling is, I can't say that I'm safe, but I'm relatively quite sure that they will control the situation, will take handle of the situation. My assumption is in few weeks, okay? Am I a colonel? Am I the chief of staff? No. Do I know it for sure? Absolutely no. But I really do know that there is a chance that things will be controlled in few weeks. Now for a particular question regarding soldiers, and then I bring my bullets and answer each one alone. First of all, many of the families of the soldier tell me that the soldier do not share with them almost anything. And certainly they're not share the fears, nor do they share what they have seen. And the reason for that is because they have to be operational. Look, you cannot really start to deal either with the sadness of losing friends or the pain or the anxiety, because you won't be operational. They're preparing now for getting in. And so they really cannot deal with that. Even there are some units where they didn't allow soldier to call home. Okay. So the reason that they don't deal with that, it's not because they don't feel anxiety or they didn't see the horrific sides, is because they don't want to talk about it at this point. And when time comes, they will have to process that. And I do know, because I trained many of the, Army mental health personnel, that they attach to each unit a person like that will follow them thereafter. At least I hope so. What they want to hear from you at home. This is a question, one of the bullets that I put. They literally want to hear that things are okay, that you are, that the, whatever happened, you continue to operate as if things are, not that you are at war, not that you are anxious. I mean, you can say that you're anxious. That's pretty, I assume they know it. But I think that you can tell them stories about the fact that the OF, the civilian people are really cheering up and doing a lot of stuff together for for the war, and that we have good morale, and that the American brought some crafts and some ships to help us, etc., etc. This is the idea, is to tell them that we are strong and we are holding ourselves. You don't have to exaggerate, but that is the message essentially that I think that need to be communicated to the soldier at the front. I'll answer a few, and then whatever left I'll answer. What would happen when they come back? First of all, we don't know when they come back. But as I suggested, mental health professional will follow them and do some debriefing, psychological debriefing, talking to them about their experience, etc. However, I do think that we need to watch what happened thereafter. And while the Army provide some help, I don't know that all the units will get it. That's why I'm working with these families. So I'm following them, and I told them that should they see signs, and I don't want to scare you, and I don't want to say what they are because it's premature. But there are some signs that do highlight the fact that people had been traumatized, and that we should take care of them, process their experiences. For example, all the intrusive phenomena such as flashback or nightmares, things of that nature. While in the beginning it's pretty natural to have, everybody has it. Eventually, if they don't dissipate, in other words, if they don't decrease in intensity and duration and frequency, then I think it's a sign of something. It's a sign the experience has not been processed yet. You will find some people who close themselves up for a time, and if they still closing themselves up and not sharing and sort of being secluded, then it's another sign. There are two other signs that are really typical to people who begin to develop post-traumatic stress disorder, and that is difficulties of sleeping in general, and startle responses. Startle responses are responses where every sound, they sort of jump up. It's as if the sympathetic system is online all the time, and they sort of protect themselves. Having said all of that, please, it takes time. We're still in the middle of things. Things have not calmed down, and we can really do not know what things will be. And I really believe that, this time the Army will provide them with, the tools that I told you, and they will be okay. Let's see if I missed any other things, and then
Rony, can I ask a question?
Sure. Please.
What's the wisdom of telling either a parent or a child that their soldier will be home soon when we really don't know if they will? It's the equivalent of telling somebody that everything's going to be okay when we really don't know that everything is going to be okay.
I don't think you can tell anybody that everything will be okay. I think what you need to tell both kids, siblings, and yourself that things are not okay at this point, and there still need to be some preparation for dealing with things that might be tough, but that we are in control of trying to do the best we can. I don't think we should tell people stories, yet at the same time, people creating horrific scenarios that are based in their worst, nightmares. And I think that should be, tempered a bit and put in perspective. So no, we cannot say to everybody things, they will come soon. What I did say, that I think that in 2 weeks, things will start happening. Is it going to be the end? Are we going to stay there years? My assumption is no. And I have a feeling that, the soldier, I don't know when the soldier will come home, but once things are being handled, it won't take a long time before some of them will come home, and then there'll be sort of cycles of discharging them and stuff of that nature. So if you heard me saying that everything is cool and everybody will be home soon, that's not what I meant. 3 months.
Sorry,
I don't know that anybody. Yeah.
Just a quick question. I know there are other moms who are, we're not currently in Eretz Israel. We've got lone soldiers that are out there. I know with mine, he doesn't get to contact me. He's my third lone soldier. And so he's in, my son-in-law's in, my daughter just messaged me. She was a choveshet when she served, and I know that she's put in her volunteer papers as well. At the moment, she's my point of communication with both my son-in-law and my son. My question is for the moms that are far away. We are really very, very distant. Especially here in South Africa, the news is very biased to the one side. I don't even watch mainstream media anymore. But little things. I know my son's service by and large has been difficult. He's in Vagal, he's in the home front unit. So I know that he's not going to be crossing borders. That I know. He's not going to be crossing borders. I know that he's helped to evacuate survivors from the south, and I know that he's evacuating people in the north. So from that point of view, I mean, my concerns, as you mentioned before, is are there still terrorists in the area? And also a huge concern that you brought up in the beginning, and which my daughter has also brought up, is, I mean, they all live in very mixed areas. They're up north. My son homes, his lone soldier accommodation is in Haifa. It's a very mixed town. My other kids live in Afula. It's a very mixed town. And she said, which I find very concerning just from my side, she said at the moment they're giving civilians guns, and there's a lot of mistrust. I mean, even neighbors that they've had for 11, 12 years, there's a lot of mistrust within the community itself. So my concern generally for my soldier, and my son-in-law's in Yalom, he is going to be crossing borders if it needs to be. But at the end of the day, my concern is more the internal security of our soldiers, and generally how the army is focusing on that. As I say, I know for a fact that, as I say, my son's had a really rough service already. I mean, the first day of this war, he lost his mefakeret. The second day, he was at her funeral with her parents. And then the third day, he was evacuating survivors from the south. And I don't get to speak to him. So I, as a parent who's not going to, when he comes home for 12 hours, be able to sit down with him or whatever it is before he goes back, I'm struggling with how to assist him. How to assist me to stop. I don't really even know how to explain what I'm feeling. What can I do so that I don't add an additional burden onto him? That's basically what I want, especially because I have no idea what's going on that side.
Okay. I think I heard your question, and your question is in the mind of many people. The best way to support him is to let him open and not to really push him to tell more than he can, and to accept the fact that he needs to sort of process it by himself, and when he's ready, we'll tell you whatever he's seen. The only thing that he needs is for you to be strong. I've heard it from soldier who said to me, I got an email from a few soldier today who said, call my mother or call my parents and tell them that I'm okay, and relax them. They need to know that you are strong and that you can support. Now, I'm not suggesting that it's easy to be strong when you're so worried and you don't know what will happen naturally. And I'm not saying you should fake it. What I'm suggesting is, to the extent you can support it, and to make it, as if it's the usual stuff, talk with him the way you talk to them, bake to him or cook with him the things you cook. Just the regular routine stuff will be very important for them to know that you are there and that things have not changed dramatically. Many soldiers, when they feel the back home, is not secure, they don't feel secure. So to some extent, it's impossible to feel secure at home. Yeah, I know. But I think that that would be my recommendation in general. Just talk to him regularly, do whatever you do with him, etc. As for your other element, which you inserted into the program, and that's really very important, and that is the inner security in Israel. That's true. You're right, because I talked yesterday with a lot of people in the north who are getting guns. You have to understand something in Israel. In every settlement, towns or small villages, you have what you call emergency team. It's called Tzachi. Tzevet Cherem Yeshuvi. It's the people who protect the thing. They've gotten new guns now, but I want to tell you that I think that it's really, I wouldn't call it hysterical, but I'd say it's overly concerned. The Arabs in Israel will attack some of the civilians. Yes, it's possible, but it's very, very unlikely. And so far, from the beginning, we are 2 weeks, a little bit more than 2 weeks after that, nothing of that nature happened. There's no attack. There was some demonstration by Arabs in Haifa and other places, but no attack and no, national crime, we call it. So I don't think that we have to be overly concerned about an internal turmoil within Israel. Yes, we have to be very concerned about what happened in Gaza and maybe in the north, but I don't think that we are in big cities where you are in Ra'anana or Tel Aviv or other places at risk. And in the border, in the both south and north, they evacuated the small villages. Not everybody have been evacuated because some people want to stay, but they have really strong forces to protect both the north and the south. And hopefully, this will take time, but it will be over in a sense, and there'll be no infiltration of terrorists into Israel. I have a feeling if there will be attempting, and there have been attempts on the south, they'll stop them. That's what happened a few times already. I think the army is ready. How do you comfort? What was the answer which comforts? Let me see. How do you comfort many families whose loved ones are now taken hostage? This is really a very, very painful thing. It's very hard to comfort. The only way because it's scary. It's scary. We know these guys are not very gentle and humanistic. So it's very hard to comfort the families. All they can do is to be very, very active and try to communicate both internally and externally about the predicament that they're at, and trying to use as much international and they have done so all over Europe and the United States, support for releasing the hostages. This is very scary. And to be honest, I don't know what would happen with these guys when an operation from Israel into Gaza will emerge. Hopefully, there'll be some negotiation. Prior to that, I know that 2 Americans were released. Whether the rest will be released, I have no answer to that. And it is a very, very painful and concerned issue. Any other question? He can stay with us in Jerusalem. That's good that he can stay with you in Jerusalem. What else? Let's see. I'll bring the things and see.
Ronnie, there was the question specifically grandparents or siblings. Is there anything specific you wanted to relate to that?
Sure. I think that, both grandparents, it's the same thing as the family, but the difference between siblings depends on the developmental level. And if you're over 4 or 5 years old, you need to explain to them, as the lady, as Jean said, about the bad guys and in those terms. But I think the message is the following. Our kids are protecting the state of Israel. Yeah, I don't think you should really relate to them the potential danger. I think that, obviously, pre-adolescent and adolescent will know exactly what happened and will understand at risk that there are at risk and will ask you and will be concerned about it. And all you need to do is support them. You cannot tell them that they are not at risk, they'll come back home safely, because we don't know that. But you can also say, yes, there is danger, but you know that their unit is doing the best they can to protect each other. And I want to tell you one thing. I've talked to a lot of soldiers, and they do not feel that. They feel almost high. They feel that they're close to each other and support each other. Is that realistic? Does that mean that everybody will be safe? Probably not. But in order to be able to deal with the situation and to do what they need to do, they have to maintain that atmosphere. Otherwise, they won't be able to go. So that's the best I can tell. And same thing with grandparents. I mean, it's a concern. You can always support them and talk to them and be with them. One of the reasons that I meet these families is that they want to meet on an ongoing basis and share with each other their concern and their support. I think the support of each other is really enormous. Can I tell you that there is a trick for everybody to be safe and everybody will return home? I wish I could. This is impossible. But we can support each other, hope and pray that everything will be sort of resolved within a reasonable time. I don't want to define. My feeling is that things will move within weeks. I don't mean will be finished within weeks, but move into action. And hopefully they do it in a way that most of the people will be safe and return home. Do I know that? Not 100%, but I really think they're doing their best.
Perhaps to end off, Rony, we can go back to your bullet points and make sure that we've covered them and answered those. And then what I would like to suggest after that, because we're going to be finishing off now, is that please feel, if you feel that following this session that we've had, where obviously it's very clear a lot of people dealing with a lot of pain and a lot of anxiety, if you would like us at Telfed to set up a support group to help you moving forward, so please send an email to Michelle Nathan, who was the organizer of this evening's event, and then we can see how we can move forward by setting up support groups for you. We already have a support group that's active for mothers, specifically for mothers of soldiers on the front, but we can expand that to other support groups. So please be in touch with Michelle if after this event you would like to join a support group, and we'll see what we can do to set one up. Let's go now back to his bullet points.
Okay.
I don't know if we should use the word bullet points, Rony, when we're talking about a war, but I'll let you think of a different term. Off you go.
All right. Let's start with the support of the kids. If it's siblings at home, basically be with them. Basically give them, your concern, love. If it's young kids, just tell them that you'll be with them. You can't tell them their brothers or sisters are going to be back home soon. That's impossible. But you can be with them and let them express their feeling, legitimize the feeling. It's really okay to express concern, and that you are concerned too, but you do the best to support them and hope that things will be okay. How do we explore what the feeling? I don't think we should explore, and I don't think we should at this point, dig to the experience of the soldiers if they don't want to say anything. I think at this point, as I mentioned, they need to be operational and they need to compartmentalize their experience. When the time comes, they'll deal with that. What do we communicate about at home? I say that this is really important, believe it or not, that we are strong, that we are holding, that the public, that we get support from others, and that, the Israeli public are really showing their beautiful faces now, and they do everything they can to support the soldier. That's what I would say. Do we share our worry with them? Look, I think they know it. I don't think you need to sort of lay it down to them, because what can they do with that? They can't promise you that everything will be okay, although they do speak about the fact that they're strong and that the unit is competent, they're ready, etc. But sharing the worry with them, I would suggest sharing the worry with other adults at home or with sport group would be more, helpful. What signs of post-traumatic symptoms do we need to be aware of? I think I did mention that, but I think that it's premature. As I said, the intrusive phenomena of flashback, etc., and the lack of sleep and the startle response, all of this will be evaluated in due time. At this point, you don't know. And the intervention that I would suggest is what we call psychological debriefing. That really should be performed by professionals, because they need to do it in a way that will not re-traumatize the people if need be. So I would suggest that's the way to go. I think I covered all I can say. Any other questions left unanswered? Did you hear me? So, did you hear me?
Just the last sentence. You missed your last sentence there, Rony. Sorry about that. If you could just repeat your last sentence.
Okay. I basically ask, in terms of if there are other questions that I really can relate to, I try to help people.
I just wanted to, there were the questions were about people that are not living in Israel, right? Specifically, any advice for people that are living overseas and their loved ones here in Israel, their loved ones are on the front. That was the question, and also people running around doing as much as they can. This is what Kim asked, feeling run down, but also feeling guilty that they're not doing enough to help.
Look. In terms of guilt, I do understand that people feel guilty, but let's be realistic. We can do the best we can. We can sort of volunteer. We can support financially. We can, help each other. I don't think we can do anything to change the fate of people who had been in the South, nor are we responsible. I think we need to talk to ourselves and sort of talk about the fact that all we can do, we're trying to do. People abroad in some ways, if they are soldiers in the army, are more helpless because they're far away and they don't know what's going on. I don't think it's an easy situation to be at. And if you are fed by different networks, some of which are sort of catastrophizing things and some of it are not objective, as the South African women had talked about, then I think we should be in touch with people on the ground here in Israel and just tell them what happened. I think that, if you find a way to create a sort of a support group of people abroad in your own countries, that will be very helpful. We are in a good situation here, guys. And it's not that I can sort of have a magic pill by which I can get everybody to be comfortable. We should be concerned. At the same time, we should know that, we're in a position now to do the best we can. And I really hope, and there is a chance, that things will be better and under control. The only thing that I can personally say for myself that, you have your email. I put my email again. If you want to talk to me and get some ideas what you can do, feel free to do that. That's the best I can do at this point.
I'd like to end off then with the last question, Rony, and that is when our loved ones come home for a very short time, or we're on the phone with them just for a few minutes. We have a very limited amount of time to talk to them. What do we say?
We say that we love them. We say that we are strong and waiting for them. We say that we expect them. We say that we'll bake to them the best cookie they want. Whatever. I mean, what I'm suggesting is to say normality. If you tell them, what can you tell them to make them strong, or to have them not be concerned? They will be concerned. But I tell you, and I've heard a lot of soldiers talk about, they don't want to hear your concern. They don't want to talk about their concern. All they want to do is, life is normal. We support each other. We're ready to be there. We will save the country, blah, blah, blah. That's what they need. And I think that's the only way that they can deal with the current situation. Don't try to help them in ways that will hurt them and will make them more concerned. Just tell them that everything's okay, that you love them, and wait for them. Please show the what? The slide in the beginning? I didn't hear it. Let me show you the first slide. Here you go. If you want my number and talk to me personally, feel free if you're in Israel. Actually, not only in Israel. And or email me if you have a specific question that I can really help. I'll be doing my best to help. That's all I can do. And I know it's not easy. As Gabriella started and opened up some of her concern, I really, really, really heart feeling to you. It's not easy to be in that position when you have a child there, and when you're concerned about what they see or even if their safety, it's not easy.
Ronnie, thank you so much. I'm going to be handing over to our chairman for to thank you and for his concluding remarks.
Sure.
I also want to thank our staff members, as I said, Michelle Nathan, and we also have Nicole Trope, who are helping to run this evening and set it up. Thank you to you and also to your committee of volunteers. And I hand over to Mesh Isaacson, our chairman, to conclude the evening.
Thank you, Daron. These are not normal times we're living in. Therefore, we don't have normal feelings or emotions. We don't understand how to deal with them. I think that tonight has been an extremely helpful hour. And I really thank you, Dr. Berger, for being with us and taking us through this difficult period in our minds that we're not used to dealing with. I personally have a son in the army as well. I'm involved with Zaka. So we all experience our own difficulties in different ways. I think your calm way of showing us things and ways to deal with the difficult situations we're facing has really been helpful, and I thank you for that. Should any of the members people are present here this evening need further assistance, please reach out to Telfed. We are there to assist you. Reach out either to Ariella or to Daron, and we will be there with you all the way to assist you. Thank you all for joining in this evening. May you have a peaceful and boring evening. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you very much. Thank everybody.
Mesh. Thank you, Ronnie. I also want to thank Simon Jubiler, also a Telfed staff member who helped the Zoom meeting this evening. Keep safe, everybody. To your loved ones too. Thank you for joining us, and be in touch with us at the office if we can help you. Shalom, Erev Tov, and thank you so much for joining us.
Ron? Ron, can you see me?
Yeah, well, you don't have your camera on.
I'm online. I'm going to stop the recording.
Okay, I was just worried about the recording not being recorded.
So Simon, thank you. Thanks for handling that.
Just trying to see how to... It's not letting me...